Nigeria to showcase her enormous economic potential to prospective investors at ongoing global exposition in Dubai.
The whole idea of the expo is to use it as an opportunity to project Nigeria to the rest of the world. President Muhammadu Buhari seeks House of Reps approval for Finance Bill 2021.
It may provide fiscal support necessary for the implementation of the 2022 federal budget.
And Nigeria's First Lady joins Nigeria Governors' Wives Forum to declare zero tolerance on gender-based violence.
Create special courts where applicable for speedy and effective handling of rape and gender-based violence cases.
And on Good Morning Nigeria today, we shall discuss activism against gender-based violence and population census protest.
All right, it's the 9th day of the Orange Week. I'm sure by now you know what that means. It's a week that signals 16 days of activism against gender-based violence, GBV, against women and girl child, which is an annual international campaign.
Well, the 16-day activism with the theme Orange the World and Violence Against Women Now started last Thursday, that's on the 25th of November, and on the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women, and will continue until Friday, December the 10th rather, which is the World Human Rights Day.
Indeed, and the Orange Week was first started by activists at the inaugural Women's Global Leadership Institute in 1991, so it's about 30 years now, and has continued to be coordinated each year by the Center for Women's Global Leadership. It is used as an organizing strategy by individuals, organizations around the world to call for the prevention and elimination of violence against women and girls.
Well, in support of this civil society initiative, the United Nations Unite campaign to end violence against women by 2030 galvanizes global actions to increase awareness, advocacy efforts, and shared knowledge as well as innovations towards achieving the target.
And various activities to mark the day have already been activated by government and non-government organizations across the country and indeed the world. Also in diaspora, women activists and partners in development have gathered in Rwanda to flag off the 16-day activism against gender-based violence, and of course they discuss strategies that will make positive impact at the grassroots especially.
Now, Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari was decorated for identifying with Nigerian women and, of course, expressing solidarity against gender-based violence. He also gave assurance of support for women as they are the bedrock of society.
So how can we effectively address gender-based violence? What about violence against men and boys? Does it also exist, or is it a myth? These are some of the questions our guests, which we have assembled today on Good Morning Nigeria, will be preferring answers to. I am Claire Adilabo Abdul-Razak again. It's a Friday, and we're always glad to have you join us. I know so many of you are watching this program this morning. Thank you for being dedicated to it. Kingsley.
All right, thank you very much, Claire. My name is Kingsley Osadolo. I join my colleague Claire to also welcome you to the program. We shall also have a conversation around the population census pretest. That will be in the second half of the program. Right now, of course, we're going to join our colleague, Comfort Amodu, to give us the highlights of the morning news on Good Morning Nigeria, which is broadcast live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority, incorporating user complementary segments, business, and newspaper review. Morning, Comfort.
Good morning, Kingsley and Claire. Nigeria, the Africa's largest economy, is set to showcase her enormous economic potentials to prospective investors in critical sectors as it marks its National Day at the ongoing Global Exposition in Dubai on Friday. Consequently, President Muhammadu Buhari held a strategic engagement with key members of his delegation towards ensuring that the nation derives maximum benefit from the outing.
The whole idea of the Expo is to use it as an opportunity to project Nigeria to the rest of the world. There are about 192 countries participating in this Expo. So there are people from 192 countries who are going around. As of today, Nigeria's pavilion has attracted close to 200,000 people who have visited. So there's a lot of interest in Nigeria.
An opportunity to engage one another. Let's deal with the hard facts. If we are behaving badly, we need to stop it.
Also, President Muhammadu Buhari has transmitted to the House of Representatives the financial bill for 2021 for consideration and passage, and the bill contains provision to support the implementation of the 2022 budget.
I trust that the bill will be favorably considered by the National Assembly for passage into law so that it may provide fiscal support necessary for the implementation of the 2022 federal budget.
And away from that, violence against women and girls is believed to be one of the most widespread, persistent, and devastating human violations in today's world. The increasing rate of this crime against women is why the wife of the president, Aisha Buhari, is joining the Nigerian Governors' Wives Forum to declare zero tolerance on gender-based violence and chart the way forward. This was at the second annual conference of the forum.
I would like us to note and continue working on the following as way forward. Create special courts where applicable for speedy and effective handling of rape and gender-based violence cases.
The Federal High Court sitting in Abuja has adjourned to 18th of January 2022 the hearing of the 7-count charge against the leader of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu. The presiding judge, Justice Binta Nyako, gave the order in Abuja. The National Population Commission in Nigeria will from Friday the 3rd of December to 10th of December conduct its second pre-test census across the 36 states of the Federation and the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. Chairman of the Commission, Nasir Isa Kwara, who indicated this while meeting with journalists in Abuja, said the exercise is part of preparations ahead of the National Population and Housing Census expected in 2022.
This commitment, the Commission is conscious of the important role of the pre-test in the process of authenticating and updating the enumeration area in preparation for the next census. Moving forward, the Commission has directed that one enumerator or supervisor from each state must be a person living with disability.
Those are some of the news highlights. Do stay tuned for more on Good Morning Nigeria with Kingsley and Claire right after this break.
Watching Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. It's time for business news, and we understand that more government agencies are keen into the federal government's National Survival Fund scheme to lift 100 million Nigerians out of poverty. Let's join our correspondent, Aleka Okpanachi-Arowa, for details.
The implementation of the MSME Survival Fund scheme under the Nigeria Economic Sustainability Plan has yielded positive results in the socio-economic growth of the country, with thousands of Nigerians benefiting from the free business registration. Senior Special Assistant to the President on MSME, Tola Adekunle Johnson, said the scheme has so far given hope to many vulnerable Nigerians, emphasizing that federal government is on course to sustain it.
It's a value chain that can be linked because if you have businesses that are not formalized, they are not able to gain from whatever it is that the federal government is doing. Now, once your business is formalized, it means that you can legitimately run that business. And as you run your business, you begin to drag yourself out of poverty. So it's a value chain that can be linked, and that's why Mr. President very quickly approved the 75 billion naira survival fund.
Business name registration is part of the Mr. President plan to lift 100 million Nigerians out of poverty in the next 10 years, because without a business name or in cooperation with this Corporate Affairs Commission, you can't open a bank account. But this provides a platform for the SMEs to open bank account and link up with other federal government interventions. And surely this will promote creation of wealth, eradication of poverty.
The sum of 56.8 billion naira has been disbursed to 835,161 beneficiaries under the MSME Survivor Fund Scheme. With Business News, Alika Opanachi, Arua.
Alika Opanachi, Arua, thank you very much for the business package, and we hope that more government agencies will, get into that track. All right, newspaper review is coming up next. Don't go away.
Bayo Atebe, our newspaper reviewer, is with us on the studios. Bayo, morning and welcome.
Thank you.
Good morning, Bayo. Good to see you. And it's a Friday. Okay, so let me start off with the Punch. Kingsley, if I may. Punch is leading with Omicron COVID-19. And it says, Omicron, states resume testing, demand funds, variant spreads to 23 countries. And actually, I think it's more than 23. As of yesterday, it was 24 countries. Now, the riders to that story, vaccine hesitancy, funding of molecular labs and major challenges, that's from Cross River State, low vaccination drive in Nigeria's rural areas, fueling transmission, says WHO. Okay, so that's it about the Omicron variant and vaccination of COVID-19. Picture story, President Muhammadu Buhari on arrival in Dubai for Expo 2020 on Thursday. The picture stories are there, and the other side you find, of course, picture stories of the president with the other government officials there. So Bello, trending at the foot of the paper, Aisha Buhari advocates special court for rape, sexual violence cases on page 7. Aisha Buhari advocates special court for rape and sexual violence cases. Now, lawyers arraign for securing freezing of Nasarawa accounts with fake documents. Lawyer arraigned for securing freezing of Nasarawa accounts with fake documents. Now, Shekrau backed APC ESCO lawyer's office among several buildings sealed, and that's in Kano. Let's take you up above the nameplate. 5G auction, Glow missing as NCC qualifies MTN Airtel new firm. Page 22. Borno, Osun, Kogi lead dirtiest states. Clean up Nigeria. Again, Borno, Osun, Kogi lead dirtiest states. That's by Clean Up Nigeria statistics. Details of that on page 21. That's quite interesting to know. Yes, now, reps invite INEC over funding challenges for direct primaries. Reps invite INEC over funding challenges for direct primaries. And Buhari won't sign Electoral Act amendment. APC plots rigging. That's according to Wike, River State Governor. And 21 humanitarian workers, 6 civil servants abducted in Borno State. Kingsley, I'm done.
We also have Al Jazeera Friday. The lead story says, with the kicker, ahead tariff hike, power generation drops by 849.2 megawatts. With rider Genco's losing generation units, and that's according to Ogaji, who is the spokesperson for the Association of Gencos. Fake certificates, 233 teachers to go in Kaduna. E-Naira, CBN assures of effective technology against fraudsters. And below that, you have court to hear application on Kano's bail and others in January. And right at the foot of the front page, you have no more foreign education sponsorship. That's according to NDDC. Details on page 9. If you look at that story on page 9 in Al Jazeera, it's quoting a special assistant to the NDDC managing director. I wonder if there's a managing director for the NDDC at the moment. And the photograph that is also illustrating the story on page 9 is that of Professor Pondé, the gentleman who collapsed in the National Assembly while being interrogated by members of the House. It says no more foreign education sponsorship. That is according to a special assistant in the NDDC. Joseph Wyas, a Colossus bows out. SGBV, worst case scenarios in Nigeria. That's a special report. I will not impose my successor, Wike.
Thank you, Kingsley. President Muhammadu Buhari, Senate President Ahmed Lawan, Speaker Femi Gbajabiamila have all mourned the death of Second Republic Senate President Dr. Joseph Wyas. Dr. Joseph Wyas, 80, died at a London hospital on Tuesday. Former Senate President David Mark and Bukola Saraki have also paid their tribute. In a tribute, Alhaji Tanko Yakansei described Dr. Wyas as a dignified gentleman and a quintessential political leader. He says he was a detribalized nationalist with irrevocable belief in the tenets of democracy. He said he will be remembered and honored for his role in inspiring the building of Southern minority movement to fuse with other national groups across Nigeria to build a true Nigerian party. Governor Ben Ayade, who is being condoled by his compatriots, says that Cross River is in pains as it mourns the passing of one of his illustrious sons. There is the report by Al Jazeera there that power generation has dropped by 849.2 megawatts hour. The total energy that was generated on 27th of November was rated to be about 103,361 megawatts hour. Strangely, they say this is due to poor utilization of energy. Spokesman for the Association of Gencos says that all Gencos are suboptimal. In other words, they are not able to generate at maximum. Therefore, many units are idle. They say poor utilization of generation is forcing system operations to ramp down. So it's very strange.
Absolutely. I mean, yes.
There is a story that Claire read about Omicron. Yes, the alarm bells are ringing around the world over Omicron virus. States in Nigeria have resumed testing following the NCDC discovery of Omicron variant in 3 persons with travel history from South Africa. There are fears that the new strain may have circulated undetected because most states in Nigeria have stopped community testing. The World Health Organization has said low vaccination drive in Nigeria rural areas is fueling transmissions. In South Africa, where scientists had discovered the Omicron variant, 5,800 cases were recorded yesterday. This is an increase over 4,300 cases recorded on Wednesday. Around the world, 24 nations have already recorded cases of Omicron variant. The Director General of the World Health Organization, Dr. Ghebreyesus, says that the number of Omicron cases is expected to grow. He warned that the current mix of low vaccine coverage and low testing is a recipe for breeding and amplifying the variants. 233 teachers are in certificate forgery in Kaduna State. The chairman, Kaduna State Universal Basic Education Board, Tijani Abdullahi, says that certificates were verified and embarked upon and ensure that teachers who possess qualifications they claim are genuine. He said 451 certificates were verified by contacting the awarding institutions. 233 were found to be fake. The chairman pointed out specifically that in one institution, 212 of the certificates of the 233 were found to have come from one institution that disowned those certificates as fake. I think what needs to be done is that there must be a syndicate in that institution, and it's not enough for that institution to disown the certificates. They have to find out who are the persons behind issuing certificates and undermining the integrity of that institution.
Absolutely.
Yes. And meanwhile, the Kaduna State government says that there is no going back on the conduct of competence tests for teachers in public schools, and the test will start in January with 12,254 teachers across the state. After the test, it will be followed by training in batches. It's interesting too that the director of SUBEB in Kaduna State says, meanwhile, the 233 teachers with fake certificates will be dismissed through the normal public service procedure, and the files relating to them will be sent to the Ministry of Justice for prosecution. Unfortunately, ISWAP criminal terrorists have also indulged in abducting persons. 15 persons were reported abducted along Damboa, in Damboa local government area of Borno State. Daily Trust reports that the criminals waylaid motorists, and the motorists thought they were soldiers because they were wearing military camouflage, and they just stopped the people and marched them into Sambisa forest. The victims, some of them who are staff of an international non-governmental organization, were heading from Damboa to Adamawa. The same terrorist group are said to have also abducted workers of the State Ministry of Works who were supervising the construction of the roadworks between Chibok and Damboa. And they were also abducted. In fact, they took away some of their trucks, sand conveying trucks, into their Sambisa forest.
But there's a story I like, and it's an interesting one because I think our time is taken away. The one by Clean Up Nigeria, and the Cleanliness Performance Index. According to this group, the 3 states got very low ratings: 12%, 13%, and 14%. Borno, Osho, and Kogi. And here is the catch. 4 cities, Abuja, Uyo, Bauchi, and Abakaliki, are said to be among the cleanest in the year 2021.
Now the story is balanced. You've balanced it now. The dirtiest ones and the cleaner ones. The others fall in between. So everybody should know where they fall, and they should ramp up the cleaning. There was the other interesting story I wanted to draw attention to. A pastor, 35-year-old pastor, have been arrested for receiving 1.5 million from a ransom of the kidnap of a priest in Imo State.
Catholic priest.
Can you imagine that?
No, his identity has to be really investigated.
Whether indeed is a man of God.
He's already saying that he regrets it. He's a disgrace to the body of Christ and to his family.
Well, he needs to be investigated.
If he should face the...
Don't be surprised if he turns around to blame the devil.
Well, that's normal, but the judge, of course, will not listen to that plea of the devil being the instigation for his consequence. Just to state a few things about the late Dr. Joseph Wires, who was Senate President from 1979
to
1983. The example of people like Joseph Wires provided an impetus for the Not Too Young to Run campaign. In 1979, when Joseph Wires became president of the Senate, or Senate president as we knew him then, he was only 38 years old. 38 years, and he was number 3 citizen of the country, as it were, chairman of the National Assembly, and Umezoke was Speaker of the House of Representatives. But there's something, this is just a bit personal in terms of what you hear at events or at occasions and ceremonies. During the Second Republic, I never read or heard Joseph Wires being referred to as His Excellency Joseph Wires. Did you hear that, Bayo?
No.
But we have seen in the Fourth Republic, the Senate President, Deputy Senate President, being referred to as Excellency. I have difficulty just understanding it. And I've asked the question, why the appellation of Excellency? Oh, they say it's the head of the arm of a government. So I then asked, will you also address the Chief Justice of the Federation as His Excellency, the Chief Justice of the Federation of Nigeria?
Well, are you surprised? You know, Nigeria, we are titled...
You're crazy.
Is it constitutional?
It is only in Nigeria you have a
Because
man
is it constitutional?
It has nothing to do with
Dr. Engineer Mrs.
Alhaji, pastor,
Yes.
man of God, and so on. But I mean, each time I hear that, I just keep asking myself, Joseph Wires, was he ever referred to as Excellency? Second Republic. I mean, you could go back and on and on. One for Rizu wasn't referred to as His Excellency, when he was the president.
Okay, there goes
Right.
my paper bio. It says, have a good weekend.
You too.
Thank
Thanks.
you. We'll see you, God willing. All right, this is Good Morning Nigeria. We're moving on, and today we'll be taking on activism against gender-based violence. Of course, it's the 9th day. Don't go away. We'll be right back. All right, welcome to our conversation segment on Good Morning Nigeria, and we are ready to go. So what are we talking about this morning? We are talking about gender issue. Conversation on sustaining action or activism against gender-based violence. That's our topic, and we'll be having our guests very soon here in the studio. But first of all, let's listen into Ekene Ndilue's background report to set the tone for our conversation.
Violence against women and girls is believed to be one of the most widespread, persistent, and devastating human violations in the world today. Latest report from UN Women, based on data from 13 countries since the COVID-19 pandemic, shows that 2 in 3 women have suffered some form of violence, either directly or indirectly, and are more likely to face food insecurity. The report, however, adds that only 1 in 10 victims made formal reports to seek help. In recognition of the need for collective efforts towards solving this societal problem, the United Nations General Assembly officially designated 25th November as the International Day for Elimination of Violence Against Women. This declaration also calls on various governments, international organizations, as well as NGOs to come together and organize activities designed to raise public awareness on the issue. In Nigeria, various advocacy groups have domesticated the program and are championing the cause of battered women. Top among them is the Nigeria Governors' Wives Forum. Through successful advocacy with the Nigeria Governors Forum, a state of emergency was declared on sexual and gender-based violence in Nigeria. The president is also not taking a backseat on the issue and has expressed solidarity with Nigerian women as they observe 16 days activism against gender-based violence against women and girls from November 25 to December 10. Clearly, these huge steps are not enough and more needs to be done if Nigeria will meet the global target of eliminating this scourge by 2030. At the heart of this year's activism is the theme, sustaining action on the state of emergency against sexual and gender-based violence. What are those practices that work against elimination of sexual and gender-based violence in Nigeria? How can this menace be surmounted? Guests on Good Morning Nigeria will be speaking to the issues in a moment.
Thank you very much, Ekene Ndulue, for that background. We have with us in the studios to discuss issues around the activism here. Let's first welcome Dame Pauline Talent, the Honourable Minister for Women Affairs and Social Development and one-time Deputy Governor of Plateau State. Honourable Minister, pleasure to have you with us this morning.
Good morning, Kingsley. Good morning, Nigerians.
Okay. Also here with us in the studios is Ene Ede, a very well-known face. He's a development programming strategist. Pleasure to have you, Ene.
Thank you.
All right. Claire?
All right, so let's. I would have loved to start with the Minister of Women Affairs, but I want to get some perspectives from the gender advocate. That's Madam Ede, development planning strategist. It's 16-day activism against gender-based violence. Give us an idea of what the situation is in Nigeria.
Well, if we look back and we look at what is happening at present, I will look into the future, you will be happy that so much is happening. Last year in particular, around the world, Nigeria came second in terms of the engagement, the intervention, courtesy Her Excellency. I think we are so blessed.
I'd like you to repeat that again, because when you say second, people will think it's
the whole world.
No, that's second in terms of
the activities that were done, social media presence, and it was not the team that sat and did the evaluation and did the monitoring and the evaluation and brought the results are not Nigerians. It was done there at the United Nations. So Nigeria came second. And from what is happening now, in terms of the quality of intervention, the kind of activities they spread around the country, I'm very sure that Nigeria is going to be top on the global list. Recently, just like 2 days ago, Her Excellency led a team that gave Mr. President the orange color, the award, which is unprecedented. And only yesterday, the First Lady was at a program where she made very serious pronouncements and committed herself and her office to practical, trackable areas that you can monitor and see if there is progress. We've not been able to have that.
Has our numerical position that you talked about led to a reduction in violence against gender?
Yeah, that is a twist. That is the irony, because in 2013, if you look at the statistics, you might want to be discouraged. But if you look at the intervention, the awareness, and the response, and the stakeholders, the quality of stakeholders, you will be consoled that there is hope. Let me take, for example, let me start with the SAC, which is one of the structures of engagement, the mechanisms for implementing the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act. In 2013, we had just one SAC. But today, 2021, we have 32 SACs in 19 states. Then if you look at the level of reports that have been made, though it is just about 23,000 because of our culture and some other reasons, it's still good, because at a time we had this culture of almost zero silence of culture. But now we have been able to have people who are reporting and we're getting response. And we have people coming out and different stakeholders cooperating to be able to make sure that the intervention is centered around the victim and the survivors. So if you look at that, if you look at it also that it's not because Her Excellency is here. I know a different for a lot of people have attested to that, that before now, before 2020, you had only 5 states that have passed the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act. But as of today, you have 26 states that have passed fully, that have gone through all the processes. That's in terms of passing it by the House of Assembly, the governor accepting, and they also going ahead to gazette, and going also further to demonstrate their quality of commitment, to also have the structures in place like the SAC, Sexual Assault Referral Centers, to have the response teams, to also have fund. Ekiti has a designated fund. The same thing with Bauchi. Bauchi has 3 billion naira. Yeah, and recently too, we are grateful to the National Assembly for the allocation to the ministry. From the judiciary, the executive, and the legislature, you have hope that the statistics we are seeing today will be better.
Okay, and thank you very much there for your insight. Let's bring in now the Honourable Minister of Women Affairs and Social Development. Honourable Minister, take some steps back and answer the question. Are we making progress in the push against gender-based violence? And if we are, where is the progress coming from?
Thank you very much. Sure, we are making progress. And the progress is coming from all facets of the society, starting from the highest level, because we have political backing. For the first time in the history of Nigeria, Mr. President, when I took the memo during the spike last year on the 10th of June, 10th of June 2020 is very, very special to me because I booked to have an audience with the Governors Forum. They gave me 2 o'clock, 10th of June. And 10th of June was Wednesday when we had the Federal Executive Council. And Mr. President graciously allowed my memo to come first so that I will finish and then move to join the Zoom meeting with the Governors Forum. On this day, the Federal Executive Council approved the memo, and Mr. President set up an interministerial committee headed by the Attorney General of the Federation, chaired by him, co-chaired by myself and other ministries, information, all the relevant ministries, to intensify advocacy and to address all issues affecting gender-based violence. That is the highest political commitment. After the Federal Executive Council, I had this meeting with the Governors Forum, unanimously the 36 governors, under the able leadership of Kaide Fahimi. He again, with all the governors, approved and declared state of emergency in all the 36 states. Already, Abuja has always been committed because the FCT minister is also doing very well. He has Abuja, even before the hype, he has already passed the VAPT and the Child's Rights Act. So we have support from all angles. We intensified advocacy at the state levels and the community level, because more of these crimes is taking place at the rural areas. And we've involved traditional rulers, religious leaders, community leaders. And the one that gladdens my heart most is the strong involvement of the Sultan of Sokoto, where he has summoned all the emirs. Because you know, in the north, these things is like, they don't want to talk about it. But the Sultan came out and he's leading the vanguard, supporting the Ministry of Women Affairs and engaging all the traditional rulers. This year, he had the second annual conference under the Sultan Abubakar Foundation, where issues of gender-based violence is properly addressed. This is the second conference he has held. He held it last year. And the advocacy is now well accepted. The emirs, everybody is committed, speaking about it, condemning it, and that is what has raised up the bar. The civil society organizations, I can't thank them enough. The National Assembly have been fantastic. The Senate President, the Speaker, everybody has lent their voice. The First Lady of the Federation, Dr. Aisha Muhammadu Buhari, she has also lent her voice. You saw her activities since we flag off this 16 days activism. Her office, yesterday she was out, and we are moving.
Okay,
so it is a holistic approach. I want to thank all Nigerians. I want to thank all civil society organizations and the political leadership, because Mr. President's appearance last year at the town hall meeting of Spotlight Initiative was also remarkable. And the United Nations have noted it. He's the first president that has come out to declare zero tolerance against gender-based violence since this matter has been brought to his notice. So everyone, the media, NTA has been fantastic. I want to commend your DG and your minister. Everybody has been fully involved. So this is a problem that I look at it as a war. And this army is all of us. We are the army in the battlefield. And the only thing we are demanding is justice for survivors of gender-based violence.
Okay, Honourable Minister, thank you. I hope this army is well equipped. Good work you have done in terms of rallying support and, of course, from traditional rulers and government officials and getting the political will that the war deserves. But let me hear, while we were having our conversation, Adebola Fatilewa walked into the studio, and she is the communication lead, Christian Aid UK in Nigeria country office. Adebola, thank you for joining us on Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you. Good
Yes,
morning.
I quickly, I want you to confirm what our two guests have said in terms of Nigeria's stride in this war. What do you think? Is the war against gender violence, is it rescinding?
Yes, so I would like, I was listening to the Honourable Minister speak just now, and I would agree with her that it's been collective. I mean, and like she said, it's a war, and it's been collective action, really. A lot of people are coming together and are speaking about it, and I think that one of the key things, what is really important, is raising awareness about the issues, you know, raising awareness at the grassroots level, at different levels, and getting people, whether it affects you individually or it's just somebody that you know, but everybody is coming together and is talking about it. So we have organizations like ours, different NGOs, local and international, talking about it. And I would say that definitely we are making progress. We are raising more awareness. A lot of people are talking about it. I think that one of the key things is about the culture of silence, you know, around gender-based violence, and that we can see as well is already being addressed. Yes, it's being broken. People are speaking up. We can see that this generation of women, men and women, you know, they are doing more. We're actually doing more to improve the development outcome for women and girls. So I would definitely say that a lot is being done already. There is more that we can do, and it's really good and really important that you know, people like our faith and our traditional leaders are involved, you know, and they are being mobilized at different angles. Like some of the work that we do as well is to mobilize. We have a platform, it's called the Side by Side Movement for Gender Justice, which mobilizes faith and traditional actors to be able to speak about these things within their own communities, in their own localities, and speak about, and just get people to talk about it. These are the issues, and raise awareness about it. So I would agree with what the two guests have already said.
All right, thank you very much, Adebola, there for your opening comments. I'm just wondering, the Honourable Minister of Women Affairs, you've been our guest on Good Morning Nigeria several occasions, and today, if I were a viewer watching from home, I don't mean any disrespect or insensitivity, I'll be wondering why you're having a splint on your right arm. Are you play acting and dramatizing one of the consequences of gender-based violence? What is happening? Your arm is normally straight and clean.
Thank you very much, Kingsley. For those who know, I've just returned from a surgery. It's an old accident that came up on my right shoulder. I'm not even supposed to be out now, but because of the burning passion in me, the 16 days activism, I will not let one day pass. Since it has not affected my leg, I want to move everywhere and to intensify advocacy. God is helping me. Healing is coming in day by day. As I've told you, it's a war, and this cannot stop me.
Oh, we appreciate that. We really appreciate the fact that you've taken time to be with us in the studios, and we wish you speedy recovery while we continue with the conversation. But one question to look at, what are we fighting against? What is the activism against? We say gender-based violence. Let's have some clarification. What is gender, and what forms of violence are we looking at?
Thank you very much. Gender covers both male and female. It's not just about women or girls. You'll be scared if you get the statistics of young boys that are being abused, that are being raped on a daily basis. In schools, it's happening. In our community, it's happening. And mostly within the family. So we are saying no to all forms of abuse on young girls, on women, on young boys. Every child has the right to live a comfortable life free of any violence or abuse. And we have a responsibility to protect our children, to protect our women. When a woman is abused, it affects her psychic for life. And any society that indulges in abusing its women and children is destroying the future, because women are mothers of the home. Women are the ones that bring up the future leaders. All the presidents of the world were brought up and nurtured by mothers. We all know the role mothers play in our lives. So women should be in the right psychic. They should be well protected in order to groom better future leaders. But when we abuse them, we are destroying the family. And when you abuse the children, they are completely destroyed. And you can imagine the kind of leaders we will have if we have boys and girls abused on a daily basis. The number is scary, and out of every one reported case, be sure that 10 are not reported. And that was why I led a powerful advocacy after our program with the Governor's Wives Forum to the chairman of the Interministerial Committee. Myself and UN Women, I also want to commend the Spotlight Initiative, UN and EU, and all our various international partners. They've been wonderful. They've been quite supportive in the advocacy. We were in the Attorney General's office yesterday to also drive home the need of the justice system to do better. And he's the chairman of the Interministerial Committee. Mr. President has given us every backing and has asked him to do all he can. And he is responding to that. We decorated him yesterday with the orange, and he made a statement. I'm sure it will be on news today.
Okay, let me take my question to Madam Enede, and I'd like us to, place, our markers now against the actionable points, in this war. We've earlier on agreed that there's been a show of support. There's been progress in terms of getting collective, buy-in into this, from all, sector across board. Let's look at the part of speaking out. Adebola talked about speaking out now and the progress. Are we really making progress in terms of getting victims, to speak out?
Yeah, we are making a lot of progress. Just like the Honourable Minister and my sister said, the level of the breaking of the culture of silence has been phenomenal. A lot of people, and it cuts across the 6 geopolitical zone, the class, the age, and even men. Before now, they expect that men shouldn't speak out. But men are beginning to speak out.
Speak out about what?
About violence. I remember...
Violence against men?
Yes.
No, but...
In Lagos in particular, there was a report in Lagos about the number of men that were abused by females, particularly domestic violence, and in this case, their wives. And if you look at the different offenses, looking at rape, inflicting physical injury, coercion, willful placing of person in under injury, 26 acts of violence as captured in the VAP Act 2015. You also have frustrating investigation, prohibition of female circumcision and mutilation. NAPTIP just captured this in a succinct way, and they've been sharing the flyer. You also have violence by state actors, that's the 24th act of violence listed here. You have political violence. You also have incest, indecent exposure, intimidation, stalking, abandonment of spouse, children, and other dependents, emotional violence, forced isolation, forced financial dependence, damage to property, deprivation of person of his or her liberty, forceful ejection from home, willful making of false statement. If you look at this, you know that monogamy is very common in Nigeria. That is, you have a man, you marry one wife, you abandon the wife, you go to another one, and sometimes all the women are done that way. So sometimes you don't even know your marital status because you may think that you are married to you are the only wife, but you discover that you are involved, you have been involved in serial monogamy. Yeah, which is a very serious matter. So all these acts of violence have been so well captured by the Act 2015. And what we have seen over time is we've been able to see people speak out. Abandonment. A man came recently to NAPTIP, and when it looked like he was not getting speedy justice, he quickly ran to Minister of Women Affairs. I met him there, and he said, "This is what my wife has done to me." And somebody said, "Why will you say such a thing in a culture like this?" I said, "Why not? You shouldn't allow him to to be traumatized. Let him report." So you have the level of reportage.
Is this something that you want to share, or it's too private to share?
Yeah, I think it's private and it's sensitive, so that some will not have an idea of what it is, so that the people too are not discouraged. So if you also go to the database, all the organizations, you know, the way they is structured, like my sister said and the Honourable Minister had said, is structured that you have the demand side. You also have the supply side. The government side is the supply side. Then we in civil society, we are the supply side. Over time, you will see that there have been that conversation. You have databases, different databases, like the Ministry of Women Affairs. They have what is called the
situation room.
The situation room, where people go to report. So there is data there that is disaggregated also according to these acts of violence and according to age and other demographics. When you go to NAPTIP that hosts the national database, where you have sexual offender and service provider registers, the dual register, you also find a lot of data there of prosecution, people who have been prosecuted. You have it there at the front end, and at the back end, you have so much of the data. So a lot of people, employers of labor, researchers have been going to look at it. So you find every day, if you go to all the organizations that are interfacing with each other, both government and civil society, you notice that there is continuous reportage, and people are there reporting. People are there making complaints, and their complaints are noted. Unfortunately, the documentation needs to be more sophisticated and more robust, so that all the agencies are able to share information among themselves. So talking about reporting, people are reporting, and it's been documented. Like the Honourable Minister several times have been shouting and saying, look, this level of violence is not acceptable. It's based on the data that is there. And when NAPTIP comes out as a lead, because according to Section 44, NAPTIP is a lead, they also talk about it. And nobody will claim ignorance of not knowing these acts of violence. If you go to the Ministry of Women Affairs in particular, none of the agencies, I've not even seen any NGO that has a display of the various acts of violence in pictorials and in words to say, look, so you cannot claim ignorance. Is it incest? You see it captured there. Is it physical assault? Is it emotional, psychological assault? It's all written there. So all that is left to us is to see how.
Thanks. But we don't have the figures now to say which are the commonest forms of gender-based violence. But from anecdotal evidence or interactions, Adebola, I'm wondering, which are the most common forms of gender-based violence, so that in fighting the war, we would know where to train our weapons and ammunition?
So I would say it will be physical and sexual. Those would be, just like you said, not, looking at figures directly, but just from what we've seen and what is being reported. I would say there's physical and sexual. Of course, there are other types, and if you permit me, because we work at the grassroots level, so of course there are really a lot of things that you see, and I'll just mention, a few which can also be categorized with in some communities and some areas where we have worked. She talked about issues of maybe when a woman doesn't know, like, you know, her status. But I would even go deeper to, there are some communities where there are widowhood rights that, you know, some women have to go through, which you can also categorize as, you know, some form of violence. We are even looking right now around things around female genital mutilation, which has, you know, multiple effects on girls and women who have gone through it. And of course, a lot of these things that we have seen are embedded in our culture. They are you know, so where some people, or, you know, in some cultures, they are socialized to think that it is okay, you know, it's okay to, as a woman, you know, to be physically abused in your home, you know, so domestic violence. And we know that domestic violence has, you know, different elements. It could be emotional, it could be physical, different things. In the VAP law, actually, you know, we have, and we're actually doing something like that in Kaduna, trying to simplify it for communities, for different people to know that these are the different forms of violence that you can experience. You know, there is physical, there is emotional, there is financial, there is sexual, you know, so that people know, you know, because sometimes it's even an issue of, do I even know that I'm being abused? You know, it's just something that people take. They've been socialized to think it's okay. You know, I'm a woman, I'm a lesser being. I'm focusing on women now, but we know it happens to both men and women. But even for men as well, when they are maybe physically abused or abused in other ways, and then they are socialized, so you're a man, so you shouldn't talk about it, you shouldn't, you know, so just in answering your question and to throwing more light on it, say that there are different things, and I think in different areas of our culture and our society, you would find that some are more prevalent than others, but generally, I think I would say the sexual and physical abuse.
Thank you, Debola. And Honourable Minister, from, you know, what we hear and see and statistics that are already given, it should appear that women or the female gender suffer more of the various, you know, abuses that are known. But this war covers, you know, all gender, both male and female gender. Is it that there will be a corresponding impact in, you know, the violence against gender if it is taken collectively, if the war covers both men and women?
Sure. Right now, the war covers both men and women, but in every aspect of it, women suffer most. The disparity in all facets. You see, apart from gender-based violence, even HIV/AIDS. You know, just 2 days ago, we celebrated the World AIDS Day. If you hear the statistics, women that are mostly affected is 6.7%, while the men is just 2.something%. So you can see the disparity. In terms of war, it's women and children that suffer. So women take the backlog of every bad thing that happens within the society. And that's why policies must be improved to support women, because addressing issues of gender-based violence and all forms of abuses, sickness, even COVID-19, if the man gets it, it's the woman that nurses him. It's the mother that nurses the family and takes care of everyone. So mothers are carrying so much, the burden is so much, and the society must look at it in a holistic form and see women as the true agents that will drive and make this country a better place. If you are talking of meaningful national development and you ignore the highest population, women constitute more than 50% of the population. And if they are ignored, then the country is disabled, because you'll be working with one hand or one leg. And that was why I was so excited yesterday with the commitment of all our 36 state governors' wives, headed by the First Lady. You were there, you saw the turnout, you saw the commitment, all against fighting gender-based violence. Now the 36 governors' wives, under the able leadership of BC Irelu, Faimi, they had formed a group of concerned First Ladies against gender-based violence. That was last year. Now, all the other First Ladies have joined. We have a holistic approach now. And they are the ones that deal with people at the state and local government level. We have a structure from the Federal Ministry of Women Affairs. We have state ministries of women affairs who handle this. The social development aspect are all under the Ministry of Women Affairs. Then, at the local government level, we have the social welfare. And you will agree with me that most of these crimes are committed more at the local government level, where most cases are not reported. But I thank God, as Ene says, and my sister, we are, with the intense advocacy, we are breaking the culture of silence. We are getting champions, men champions, women champions, and that's why we're encouraging the he for she. If you are made a he for she, you have become a champion to protect women in your community. I must also commend speakers of the Houses of Assembly, both at the national and state level. At the state level, we have a wonderful champion in the person of the Speaker of Bauchi State House of Assembly. He is the chairman of the Speakers Conference, and we are working closely with him. He's been the one supporting my advocacy at the state levels, because now when I go to states, I don't just pay advocacy visits to governors and communities. I go to the House of Assembly where the VAPT Act and the Child's Act are not yet passed. That is why we've got to this level. And the remaining 9 states, by the grace of God, my prayer is either before the end of this year or early next year, we will be able to see that through. The governors have shown commitment, and speakers at the Houses of Assembly.
All right, thank you very much, Honourable Minister of Women Affairs. I'm just wondering, in terms of the advocacy against gender-based violence, how much focus is placed on addressing and therefore seeking to attenuate the triggers for the various forms or the more prominent forms of gender-based violence? What do we know as some of the causative factors, and how is advocacy addressing those causative factors of gender-based violence?
Thank you very much. When we got some data from the Sexual Assault Referral Center nationwide, like I said, 32 in 19 states. We have one in FCT. I know with the push of the Honourable Minister of Humanitarian, NAPTIP, and all other collaborators, especially the FCT that is our hostess. I know too that we'll have more of the SAC. The report that came out of the statistics that came out of the SAC, of the close to 24,000 cases reported, we realized that 70% of those cases were acts of violence against minors. That is under 18 years. And when we looked at it closely, especially the period that we were all locked down and locked in, and suddenly we came face to face with different kinds of emotion, we realized that a lot of people were suffering trauma, especially that we had stepping up of insecurity and people looking for ways of dealing with it. So for a number of people, some will tell you that I was influenced of evil. Others will tell you that it was influence of drugs. So this is what we have come to find out. Others will find that because they are frustrated, for men especially, you realize that when they are limited and they are not able to, they are not able to match terror with terror, those with higher level of terror, then they come to somebody lower than them in terms of balance of terror and in terms of the social relationships too. Then you also look at the economic status. That's why for a number of people, part of what they're advocating for, particularly the role of the Ministry of Women Affairs, which the ministry have been doing very well, Section 38 of the VAB Act, the rehabilitation, the reintegration of the survivors, the victims, as well as the offenders. You find that the resources is not there. So the whole conversation is still around having sufficient survivors funds. How much can the ministry do? If all other persons, because all the agencies have their specialized roles. So how much can the ministry do in terms of now getting to get survivors? Because according to the VAP Act, survivors or victims, they have the opportunity of either going for economic empowerment or go for second chance education. So how much provision is made in the Ministry of Health, Ministry of Education, and other collaborative ministries? How much resources have been allocated to NDLE to be able to support what the ministry is doing? Then you go to NAPTIP as a lead. If you look at the allocation is small to the extent that you won't be able to lead very well, because you are leading all these other agencies to be able to get information from them and be able to respond. The response cannot be qualitative. So you need qualitative and quantitative response. So generally, the attitude to be able to do the advocacy, and your advocacy to cost money. For you to be able to engage in communication that changes behavior or shifts behavior, that is social behavioral change communication. You need money. You need to meet the people at their base. It's not that you sit on television and talk to them. So meeting them one-on-one in groups and the various, it means the logistics alone. It means a major area we need to deal with is to deal with the funds. But for now, it's only Ekiti and the Bauchi that have survivors funds.
Okay, I know the Nigeria Governors Wives Forum was able to, sometime last year, Honourable Minister, you were here, to get, the governors declare a state of emergency against gender-based violence. And that has also led to increase in the number of states that have, domesticated, yes. But what has that translated to in terms of prosecution, in terms of arrest, in terms of, reduction of the crime itself? Honourable Minister, in a few minutes, please.
Thank you very much. This is a very important question, because it's not just about domesticating the Child's Right, the VAPT Act or the Child's Right Act, but implementing it. So we are now emphasizing more on the implementation. So if they are able to implement it, then we'll see more of prosecution of perpetrators of these evil acts. And again, the justice system has to be involved. And I must commend ROLAC with the programs. On the day we kick off this gender-based violence, we had a program organized by the Federal Ministry of Justice, ROLAC, and the other agencies. And at that program, the representative of the Chief Judge of the Federation was there. And the Chief Justice of the Federation made a commitment. The Attorney General of the Federation made a commitment. And I followed it up yesterday again. We will continue to follow up and drum that on them until we see justice. Because it is not just about domesticating, it's ensuring implementation so that we can see more criminals being punished, and then let the public know and let their pictures be on the
in the public space.
In the public space. That's we had launched the sex offenders register in 2019, and it is there in the VAPT Act. Any state that domesticates the VAPT Act should display the sex offenders register. The sex offenders register exposes the perpetrator, and no man would want to see his picture displayed in the community that he is a rapist. And if that is done, and enforcement is done, it will bring down the number. And that's why I commend the governor of Bauchi, of Kaduna, for amending his VAP Act to include castration. If 1 or 2 men are castrated publicly, their pictures shown, I'm sure it will send the right signal to reduce this widespread of evil acts destroying our children.
All right, Honourable Minister, thank you. We are pressed for time. We need to go. But why the choice of orange for the theme celebration?
Orange, the United Nations decided to choose orange because orange has a strong feeling to donate hope for survivors of rapes and all forms of violence against women. So you can see orange is a combination of red and yellow. When you mix red and yellow, it gives you orange. And
maybe
that orange gives an alluring hope. It gives hope. It gives reassuring the survivors that they are not alone. And that's why we're calling on all well-meaning Nigerians to support survivors of gender-based violence, rape, and all forms of violence. Because they need love, they need support, not just economic support, psychological support, so that they can fit in and then into the society.
Well, just to add that orange too also has its spirituality and psychological impact. It denotes life, freedom, warmth. You look at the color, it shows you sunshine. It shows you a state of being, that reflects a spirituality that is free. Able to, generate, to be productive. So there's so much to the orange color, Kingsley.
Yeah, there's
yes,
no question about that. No
Yes.
question. Would like to thank all our three guests. I mean, there are other perspectives we would have explored. I'm sure there will be another time. Counseling, for availability of counseling, and the centers where they are located, and whether such counseling centers are also open to men who have been abused or violated, men who have been beaten by their wives and so on and so forth.
1 out of 100.
Exactly, 1 out of 100.
1 out of 100.
All right, Claire.
All right, Your Excellency, Dame Pauline Talent, Minister of Women Affairs and Social Development. Thank you, as always, to have you join us.
Thank you, Claire.
Who is a development programming strategist and also a gender advocate. I know she doesn't like it, but that's what she is.
Yes.
She is a gender advocate. Thank you very much for joining us.
We are grateful and we welcome you to the launch of the first annual VAP report today.
Today.
Oh, that's great.
Thank you very much. That's great, really. Adebola Fatilewa, Communication Lead, Christian Aid UK, Nigeria Country Office. I would like to thank you for coming.
Thank you very much for having me.
So, I mean, why were you minimizing what I was saying? If men have also...
Kingsley is looking for trouble. So let's...
Emanuela.
Let's go on a short break.
I mean... all right. Sorry, we were just having an after sign-off chat with our guest who, of course, taking off from the studios. I'm Kingsley Osadola. You're still watching Good Morning Nigeria. We're going to have to take a short break, and when we return, we'll be dealing with our second topic, which is on the census pre-test exercise usually conducted before the enumeration demarcation area. All right, so let's go on that short break now, and then, of course, we will get our guests in for the second topic.
All right, census pretest exercise is usually conducted before completion of the enumeration area demarcation exercise. The question to ask is, how critical is this pretest to the census preparatory process itself? In a moment, we will find out in our second conversation, which begins right now.
All right, we have two guests in the meantime with us in the studios. Dr. Inua Jalingo is the census manager at the National Population Commission. Dr. Jalingo, delighted to have you this morning.
It's a pleasure.
Also here with us is Ariola Evelyn Olanikpekun, Director of Census Department of the National Population Commission. Ms. Olanikpekun, pleasure to have you with us on the program this morning.
Thank you. Good morning, Nigerian.
Okay, we understand that we're expecting the chairman of the Population Commission himself. Of course, he will be with us once he does come into the studios. We will introduce him. But let's begin with Ms. Olanikpekun, who is Director of Census Department. Again, what is this whole pretest all about before the completion of the enumeration area demarcation? What is it? What does it mean? What does it entail?
Okay, thank you. Good morning, Nigerians. Pretests of censuses are often designed to pretest the preparation for the census, and they are out to test certain objectives. Normally, enumeration area demarcation is the first layer of activities towards a census. And when this is being conducted, it's to create enumeration areas that will be used as assignment areas for our enumerators during census. So while that is going on, we also organize the pretest to test the quality of the enumeration areas created and the usefulness for the census. And pretest is designed also to test the questionnaire content, the clarity of questions, and again to also test the workload that we will be assigning to our field enumerators. Also, pretest enable us to test the adequacy of our publicity, because census is a huge lot of activity, and that takes place almost within a very short time, within which we may not have more time to make mistakes. So it is through tests and tests that we're able to bring out lessons that can help us improve our planning and make our preparation adequate.
Census is conducting, national census is not new. It's something, that has been in existence for a long time. So is it at every census period that you do you say it's a pretest census, is it every time you conduct this, or what really is the wisdom in this pretest?
Okay, pretests are part of every census exercises, because it's a part of preparatory activity to ensure that all plans are in place. So for any project at all, and a huge one like census, pretest is a major aspect of it. So it comes with every censuses. For instance, in 1991 census, we had up to 3 pretests. We have a first pretest, second pretest, and even a trial census. Trial census is also a dress rehearsal of census. Then in the 2006 census, we had 2 pretests and a trial census. And for the next census, we already conducted the first pretest in June this year. And this is the second pretest, which also has its own set out objectives to help us also measure our preparedness for the census. And after this, again, we'll be moving into a pilot census before we attempt the main census.
Wow.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Olanipekun, there for your explanation. Dr. Inua Jalingo, I mean, this looks like a lot of shadow boxing before you get to throw the killer punch, as it were. So, what does it entail in terms of pre-test exercise, and who is involved?
Thank you very much. Good morning, Nigerians. The enumerators are involved. All the functionaries we are going to use for the census are involved. First of all, we have the facilitators. We had a training of facilitators. Now they will step down this training to enumerators, which has just completed all over the country yesterday.
Who is a facilitator?
Facilitator is a trainer. Is a person that is supposed to train the enumerators during the census period. So we had that level of training of trainers in Abuja here. Then we are stepping it down to the training of enumerators and supervisors at the state level. That was just ended yesterday. And then we have the supervisors. All these people are going to be the field functionaries for the census exercise. They are going to be deployed to the field. The enumerators will canvass from house to house on the census questions, while the supervisors are the one that will oversee them and quality check the questions and all these things. So all these component staff are very important, and so we have to check their movement, because they are not working only in the state capital. They are going to work in all the local government areas, in all the localities selected for the pre-test exercise across the country. So basically, apart from the training aspect, apart from this, we're also going to see their deployment. We're also going to look at the working of the equipment that we are going to deploy to the field. We are going to do a digital census, so we're all testing those digital equipment. We're deploying them. We are looking at the time that they will use for interview, the battery life, and all these things. We need to test all these things so that during the census, you don't have a shocker, you don't have something new, and you have to ensure that all your activities that you have planned for are in the right perspective and are working well according to plans. And if there is anything that you are going to learn, definitely you are going to learn some lessons. So the preachers will help us to adjust and also see what are we doing that is right, what do we need to do that we need to adjust to make it right, because you cannot afford to miss anything in the census. Any minute in the census process is important. So you have to check all these things to ensure that they are working according to your plans. So if there is any adjustment that you need to do, the pretest is only the platform and the trial census are only the platform to help you to do this adjustment to get your optimal
What is
best.
the level of citizen involvement at this pre-testing stage?
Yeah, we have commenced mobilization of the citizens for participation. First, starting with the chief executives of the states. The chairman has written to all the chief executives of the states, telling them that the National Population Commission is conducting this pretest exercise in their state. We have also telling them that these are the areas, the local government areas where this activity is taking place, telling them that these are the localities where it's going to take place. Yesterday, again, the chairman engaged the media, both print and electronic, in the print conference to educate the populace because the people are the principal actors, because they are the ones that we are going to canvass these questions that we are going to do from them. So we need they are very important. They are the most important, the respondents are the most important people as far as our plan and operations are concerned.
Okay, maybe, Claire, we'll get Olani Pekun to also respond to this aspect. When I asked the level of citizen involvement, I just wanted to find out, I mean, what would be the interface between the enumerators or whoever the officials are from the NPC and the citizens? You just get into a household. Is it the head of the household you're looking for? Is it all persons who will be enumerated? That's why I asked, what is the level of citizen involvement at this pretest stage?
Okay. For the citizens, we have always counted on their support, and as much as possible, they have tried their best. And for this pretest, also, we'll be interfacing with each household, because our enumerators have been trained. They'll be going out today to start the house listing exercise. And when we conduct the house listing exercise, we visit each building in the EA, and then in each building, we request to know the number of households that are there. And when we get that, we meet each household to know the name of the head of the household. All these are questions, this is a question we ask individual household. So we take record of the names of the head of household to document them in preparation to enumerating the household. There is this first leg, whereby we do the listing of all buildings and all household. So after that is completed, then we move on to the enumeration, where we still come back to the citizens again in their various households to ask them questions on demography, which will include their names, record their sex, their occupation, age, and place of birth, origin, occupation, and educational attainment, with some other questions we shall be asking individual members of the household. As much as possible, census is de facto, and we're also trying this in the pretest. Therefore, after we have listed every household, when we are back for the enumeration, every individual present in the household, as at the time of our visit, will be interviewed. Whosoever is not around cannot be interviewed. And that is the same way we do it during the main census. So as much as possible, we are not covering the entire nation now, and we have a number of samples in just a few EAs, about 444 EAs scattered around the state. Therefore, it is only people in those enumeration areas now that we see us come into their houses. So we just enjoy the rest that we are only out for a pretest. It is not a census yet, but for those that are in our sampled areas, they should please cooperate with us, because we shall be asking a number of questions to which we expect their responses. Thank you.
What informed the choice of those areas for this pretest?
Okay, it's a scientific procedure. Since it's only a test, we only want to, from the list of the total that we have, let us just systematically sample a few that our fund can carry, and that we meet the scientific requirement of taking a sample for the study. So it's purely a scientific exercise and not for preference or likeness for any area, but it's a purely scientific approach.
Okay, the Chairman, National Population Commission, NPC, just walked into the studio, Honourable Nasiru Issa Kwara. Thank you very much for joining us for this conversation. So we were asking, we wanted to know, you know, the area that this pretest would cover. So maybe you're in a position to tell us why these areas, you know, were probably chosen.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Nigerians. I am pleased to be here and to enlighten us more about the processes that we're undertaking to make sure we conduct for Nigeria a very sound, acceptable census. The areas are picked randomly, no particular preference. We picked randomly. The first pretest that was conducted, we have a particular number in mind. That's, the first test was 222 enumeration areas. Now, we're getting closer to census, we expand the scope. We're now picking 444 enumeration areas. When we do the trial census in a short while, it will be a bigger sample. By the time we finish that, then we'll do the actual census. So there's no any specific reason why we picked. It's just a random selection. Yes.
Before you joined this conversation, I had used the boxing analogy. Yes. I said the pretest is more like shadow boxing. So when is the main event? That is to say, when are you projecting that we would have a national population census exercise? The last one being in 2006.
Yes. Well, going by our timeline, we hope to conduct census by May 2022, by the grace of God.
Do you have it in the next year's budget?
Yes.
Have you defended your budget before the National Assembly?
Yes, we have defended our budget.
Okay. Now, let's find out. I mean, from the men and women you are going to send out onto the field, there will be some concerns. But we understand that what you have afoot is a digital census. Yes. What does that mean?
Digital in the sense that we are not carrying paper and pen to be asking questions or reading from paper. It's purely electronic. We are going with a handheld device. From the device, we ask questions and they respond. We feed it into the device, and the data we're able to collect, we upload into our server for further analysis.
What is this handheld device? I'm asking this question, Claire.
Is it a BVAS?
Is it BVAS? Is it like a card reader? Is it? So I mean, because it's important to clarify this, so that, because I'm sure you've been around in the country, and you've apprehended the controversy generated first by the smart card reader and all the glitches that they have with smart card reader, now upgraded to BVAS. And you also saw some of the snacks that they had in the Anambra election the other day. Yeah. So what is, you say device, what is this device? And where is the device coming from? Are you going to have enough of it? Is it locally produced? Is it locally configured? Or is it coming from outside the country?
No, it's not locally produced. It is a Samsung product. It's just like any Android device. Even the phone can be used. But this one has been designed to be a little bit bigger, so that you can, it's touch screen, and you can feed in and get a response. It is to be imported. So because it's coming in large number, we're already talking of the procurement process, how we bring it into the country. So it is not something to be afraid of. It's something we are all used to fiddling with. So even the school children, students, they are already used to using the phone. So it's not any special device.
But the phones also come with their own network problems, and that's why I'm going to ask. What about connectivity issues? Yes.
Okay. We have conducted the enumeration area demarcation. One thing we have in our database for the EAD, we have all the networks plotted where they are and where they are. So we are going to narrow around that. The Commission is also thinking of using some hybrid SIM cards where we can get network in the event that there are no network. It can get network from more than 10 different sources, even from neighboring countries and all these things. They are hybrid. So we can also work online and offline. Yes. And when you get network, you can now send to the server and all these things. So all these things have been carefully thought of, have been practiced, have been practiced severally, and that is why we are doing the pre-test. And just as the chairman have said, these areas have been randomly selected. So all these possibilities you are likely going to meet in a census are going to also be experienced here. And so we'll try to experience all the situations, and including the network and the transmitting of the data. All these things are going to be stimulated in the pre-test.
I like the fact that the areas have been randomly selected, but this is not a theoretical, practice. This is a practical, exercise. And I would have thought personally, and this is going to Mrs. Olanikpekun, I would have thought that in choosing the areas for this pre-test, accessibility would have been a driving factor.
Okay. Actually, we still stand by the fact that randomly selecting these areas as our best option, because in the process we have a variety of scenarios in the field. So Nigeria is has a wide land area and cut across different terrains. And in the process of randomly sampling the areas to be visited, it has cut across all these areas, both difficult areas and the less difficulty, the ones with less difficulty. Then taking it across the state also make us to have a feel of what the situation is in every state. So we don't really want to restrict it to accessible areas alone, or areas that are close by. We really want to have a feel of what it is, because census is supposed to cover every nook and cranny, every inch of the land area of Nigeria. Wherever people live, we must reach there. So regardless of the difficulty of getting there, we have moved up to the mountains before to go and enumerate people.
Which are some of the areas that you have randomly chosen? Are we in a position to know some of those areas?
Okay, we have actually, we have three enumeration areas in every local government. In each local, 4 local government area in each state. That is, every state has 4 local government area where we are going to visit, and each of the 4 local government areas we shall be visiting 3 EAs that has been randomly taken from the whole lot of EAs demarcated in that LGA.
The Federal Capital Territory has
inclusive
6.
FCT also has 4 council areas, and each of the council areas we shall be visiting 3 enumeration areas.
All right, Mr. Chairman, it looks like you're itching
Yes,
to...
I just wanted to add that in the selection of the local government areas, it cuts across all the senatorial districts in every state.
Okay. Yes. Well, I still want to return to the digital census that you say is afoot. Is it that you're going to do this electronically fully without paper backup? That's one question. Second question is, will the entire value chain be hacker-proof? Have you attempted that, getting ethical hackers to try to rattle your system and see how fortified it might be against intrusion?
Yes, it's going to be 100% electronic, no paper. Secondly, the issue of hacking. We have worked with our experts, and this is
seriously addressed. We don't expect that we're going to have hacking into our system. Yes.
Okay.
Well, I think it's Mrs. Alani Kwekunde talked about the issue of questionnaire. And I'm wondering what kind of questionnaire and what kind of questions will be included in this questionnaire. You know, is it a closed questionnaire or is it a questionnaire that allows you to make your input, and what are the kind of questions?
No, it is a closed questionnaire. We select questions that will not bring us problem in this country. Anything that brings about division in the country, we don't include it. We don't want to talk about issue of religion. We don't talk. We talk strictly about statistics that we need for proper planning and development, and issues that brings about controversies. We don't do that. Issue
like,
about gender,
like numbers of inhabitants, because she said they will ask you who is the head of the household,
yes.
and then you're going to ask the number of people living in the household, and you know what's counting. You know that in some cultures it's forbidden to count the number of your household.
Well, those cultural barriers we try to overcome because we need this information. It's very, very important for us to do that. The culture of like Puda, we'll try and get a lady accompanying a young man as enumerators that will go into the household, where a lady has to. A lady will be asked, like the wife or the daughters, is the lady that will be asking the question, not the young man. So those cultural.
And the young man will enter
he may enter and stay with the head of the household, but the lady will be the one asking. Yeah. Yes.
Okay. What was the outcome of the protest exercise you conducted 6 months ago, you said, Dr. Jalingo?
Yeah, we have, basically that protest was conducted to check our enumeration area demarcation, which we did up to phase 17. And we have checked them, and all the parameters we have set to check, we realized that we are over 90% accurate. So that gives us a lot of sense of encouragement. Similar parameters are set for this second pretest. We are moving more from the maps now to the cohesions, to the logistics, to even the advocacy, and to ensure that the people are aware of what we are doing. If you realize that the advocacy we are doing now, the media engagement, are more for this pretest, because this time around we want to check all these things. Have the people received our message? Do they know the type of questions that are going to be answered, and all this and all that? So at the end of the day, we have our parameters to gauge the pretest and see whether it has met, whether there are areas that we need to take measures to amend, and so that we can move forward towards the trial census and the census in the right manner, and using the best practice for data collection.
What kind of questions, one more time, should citizens expect at this protesting stage? Yes, the chairman says the questions that normally would inflame passions or stoke divisions will be avoided. But what kind of questions would you expect? Because if you were to get, let me give you an example. Maybe you're trying to also ascertain household income or income levels. You don't walk, your enumerators walk into a household and you're asking the man probably would probably spend some time to make a calculation of what he earns and what his wife earns, and how much they spend, and so on and so forth. So what kind of questions should people expect?
Thank you very much. First and foremost is the socio-demographic questions. These are very important. What is the sex, the age, the schooling status, and we also have some disability questions related to ability to perform certain activities.
Yes.
We don't call them disability because that is derogatory. And in addition to that, we also have housing characteristics. Is that clear? This is a population and housing census. We want to know the type of houses Nigerians live. Do they have access to electricity? Do they have access to water supply? What is the sanitation condition in the households? And again, we have, do they have television in their houses? Do they have a telephone? Do they have all these things? So we have moved from asking questions directly in economic because they are almost very difficult to get answers to. So we do what we call wealth quantiles. We look at your household facility, your level of sanitations and all this and all that. By that, we have some modeling analysis that we can deploy to assess what is the economic status of the household. So these are the proximate determinants that will determine what are the economic status. Because when you ask people what they earn and all this, it's always very difficult. But we're also going to ask labor force questions. Are they working? In the last 12 months, have they engaged in any kind of work? What type of work they are going to ask? We're all going to ask these questions. But getting directly earnings, even for us, is very difficult to do. So the Commission has done several of these. Apart from the census, we have been conducting successful surveys and over the 30 years or so. So, and we know all how to go about all these parameters, and we're going to deploy that for the exercise.
Mrs. Olanikpekun, I'm wondering the level of information that is available to, to Nigerians out there about this pretest, census pretest.
Okay. As much as possible, we have tried to improve on publicity by way of getting the population sensitized through advocacy. As mentioned earlier, the executive chairman has embarked on several advocacy visits to states, to traditional councils, just to sell our programs and intimate them of what we have in place. And particularly in preparation for this pretest, the Public Affairs Department has gone out to prepare jingles and handbills to educate the citizenry of what they are about what's about to happen. So, and in each LGA that has been selected for this exercise, our officers at the state level, our state directors, the controllers, and staff have been enjoined to go and identify those areas that have been randomly selected and inform the traditional rulers or the leaders of the communities of the commission's program, and telling them the date and what is involved, what exactly will be happening, and call for their cooperation. So, and as much as possible, all enumerators have handbills and posters which we expect them to put in the areas where they are going to work, and also distribute ahead of their visit to the household, so that their coming is not unknown. They already, the community is already aware of their coming ahead before they start interviewing them. So as much as possible, it can be better, but we have tried much to publicize the pretest, and we hope that we gain the maximum cooperation of all our respondents.
Right, Mrs. Olanikpekun, thank you. My final question is to the Chairman, Honourable Nasir Issa Kwara. What are you expecting? What kind of conduct are you expecting or soliciting from the people that will participate in this pretest?
Thank you very much. First and foremost, I would like to thank Nigerians. They've always supported us all through, right from when we were conducting the enumeration area demarcation. We received a great lot of support, and we don't expect any less. We continue to count on you to support the Commission to conduct this very important exercise that will lead to eventual conduct of a very credible and successful census. We are doing this for us, Nigeria as a country. We've never had it this good, and we want, the way we started, we want to finish it on a very resounding, successful note. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chairman, National Population Commission. When is the pretest kicking off, and how long is it going to last?
It's kicking off today. Yesterday I had a press briefing where a lot of press men and ladies gathered. The commissioners are also doing the same press briefing today. So as soon as they're through the press briefing, the staff will go into the field straight to start today. And we're going to end on the 10th of December. No, December. It's just a one-week program. Yes.
Okay, on that note, we'd like to thank you, Honourable Nasir Isakwara, Chairman, National Population Commission. Thank you for being our guest on Good Morning Nigeria today.
Thank you, Principal.
Mrs. Ariola Evelyn Olanipekun, Director, Census Department, also of the Population Commission. We thank you for being around. Dr. Inoa Jalingo, Census Manager at the Population Commission. We also thank you for the clarification you provided.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right, so that's it for us on Good Morning Nigeria for today and indeed for the week. We hope you enjoy your weekend and then join us again on Monday, same time, 7 o'clock in the morning. I'm Kingsley Osadolo.
All right, and Christmas is smiling. Don't forget next week, and always wear your face masks. Omicron COVID-19 is around the corner, and also join us in our campaign against rape and rapists. I am Claire Delabu Abdurazak from me and the production crew to have a wonderful weekend. Bye-bye.